Hi, this is Maggie Reese.
And I'm John McManamy.
And today we're coming to you live from the shack. And we're going to be talking about personal experiences when...
Well, wait, Maggie, this isn't the didgeridoo video?
No, not the didgeridoo!
No, please, Maggie, can I play my didgeridoo?
It's... Oh, shoot! No, not the didgeridoo
I'm not allowed. Okay.
Love it. It's we're going to be talking about when your brain just is there's just overload, right?
Right, and this is actually
shuts down.
And this is serious subject matter.
This is so serious because I know if you have bipolar, and you know this has happened to you because it's happened to all of us. That even people that don't have bipolar, but with us there is just nothing. We're just like hanging there.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in brain science going on around this. Basically, it's called the leaky filter concept. We have trouble tuning out inputs from our environment. On one hand, this makes us very creative.
Right.
But at the same time,
it's
we
terrifying.
experience sensory overload.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this can come from in our environment or down from where our trauma is located.
Right.
And often we can just get overwhelmed. And what happens is we can either flip out or shut down.
Right.
Or sometimes it initiates a process where both happens. And we're in a state of crisis and emergency.
Where other people, you don't see it. Because they're just seeing us like right now, but in our brain, it's shutting down. It's fight or flight.
It's fight or flight, and we've got to make very important decisions like in the next 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be facing serious consequences. Meanwhile, our partner or friends, they're not aware of what they have no idea. So why don't you start with your story, Maggie?
Well, last year I went to France, and my mother was out in, oh my gosh, I don't even know now, somewhere out in southern France, painting away. She's an artist, so it's pretty cool. I get to do these fun trips. And my best friend came with me, and my best friend has never had any mental crises ever in her life.
Right.
And she had some problems with her job, and she pretty much went on shutdown mode. So here my best friend, who is my, what do you call it? My eyes and my ears and
your frontal lobes.
That's it. Right. I knew there was a term.
Yeah.
The frontal lobe. She's my everything. She was like, Maggie, if I go to France, you're going to have to get us through. And I'm thinking, well, shoot, I'm not that person. She's that person. You know, she's always the one like getting us everywhere. And we get to France, and we're in that airport, which right there, just being in the Paris airport, the anxiety is like at a 9.
Oh, I hate airports.
Yeah. And if you've ever been to Paris, like it's an insane, large, overwhelming airport. Then there's no English anywhere.
You know, Charles Lindbergh had a much easier time flying to France than an average traveler today.
You know? Yeah, no kidding. You know, just getting through the airports, on the airplanes. I had to take my drugs on the plane so I could pass out, and I actually had a drink of alcohol too. Don't do that. I was like doing meds and alcohol just because I
had to do that on a New Zealand flight too. Don't do it.
Don't do that. It's so bad.
But I had to do it.
Yes, so I'm not running on my full thing, and then here's my frontal lobe best friend. She's down, and luckily she did say, Mag, don't deal with the trains, get a taxi. And you know what? That was the smartest thing, because if we would have gotten on those freaking trains, we would have disappeared into the middle of France somewhere. And we took a taxi right to our hotel, and it was weird because for me, I felt like God was with me the whole time, because usually my brain's spinning so fast I cannot take in where I'm at, but everything seemed to slow, and I realized where we were on that taxi cab drive, and I was able to get us around the sign. Is it called the sign? Did I say that right? The river sign or river Seine?
That sounds close enough to me.
Yeah, yes. Whatever it is.
It's a
you
river.
Can correct me. That goes all
big
through.
River in Paris.
A big river in Paris. And
Gene Kelly dancing by the big river.
Yeah, and it was amazing that I was able to get us through that, because usually in those circumstances I would have completely shut down. And for me that time, things were working out, but the anxiety, oh my gosh, I had to stop so many times and take a deep breath and just go, okay, Mag, you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. And for me, I went to prayer to get through those traumatic times. Like maybe other people would say, you know what, this is not a big deal. You just took a taxi to your hotel room. What is the big deal? But the freaking airplane, riding in the airplane, being in there for 9 hours, trying to navigate the Paris airport, having no English, all of that is overload.
It's overload big time.
Overload big time, and John's been there many times, like your New York experience.
Oh, that was my experience from hell. Okay, so this was, my girlfriend, now my former girlfriend, we were going to do something special for the weekend to celebrate both our birthdays. So me, I said, hey, we're on the West Coast here in San Diego. I said, hey, why don't we go to an opera in New York?
Of course, go to the Met.
Of course, go to the Met. Bipolar, this perfectly makes sense.
Yeah, we go to the best.
Okay, so we got into we boarded the red eye cross-country flight, and so there's time zone difference. So we're leaving like at 9 at night or something, and I snooze for a few minutes, and we're waking up like 6 o'clock in New York.
So you're already messed up because of the time.
Already messed up because of the time and the sleep. So we get there, we get in our hotel, we have our romantic meal together, and then the next day turns into hell.
Yes.
Because we're going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art before we go to the Metropolitan Opera. And automatically things start going wrong all at once. The subways aren't working. The crowds are, you cannot walk 2 feet in New York without encountering 100 people. Now I live in rural California, and usually when my girlfriend and I go for walks, we go way out, in the middle of a national forest or something where there's no people around, and there's our own private waterfalls and stuff. So she's not handling it too well either, and she's supposed to be my frontal lobes, and you really need somebody to be your frontal lobes, because when you get overloaded, somebody else has to do your thinking for you. But so she was just so totally not on my wavelength this time around. So it just so happened I was so overloaded with stuff. We got to the subway, and they have these Metro cards in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And you take them out of your pocket and you just swipe it in the subway terminal. That's all you have to do. I could not find my card. Meanwhile, she's gone through the terminal, and literally I'm looking at every pocket, and my brain is not working now. She comes back out, and she's looking at me like I'm crazy. Now, maybe technically I am crazy, but that's not, I've got the papers to prove it here.
Yeah, I will say that.
And thank God I am crazy, but, this is not the time you want to be crazy. Your brain, your neurons aren't working. They're not talking to each other. I can't find my card. And she's just looking at me like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
And I'm saying, I cannot find my card, as if, come on, that's your cue to be my frontal lobes.
Right.
And she's not picking up her cue, so now I'm got another reason to freak out. So it's finally, I say, okay, I will go and purchase another card. But nothing is working in my brain. I cannot even figure out how to stick the dollar bill in and get
there's no process at that point.
Nothing is
your brain
working.
Shuts down completely, and it's over.
It's over now, and see, now 2 things can happen. I can crawl into my shell like a turtle, or I could totally freak out. Now, there was a time I almost lost it in Las Vegas airport on a layover, and this was ironically after giving a little tour on my first book, Living Well, with Bipolar Disorder. So I could almost see the headlines. Author of
Living Well.
Author of Living Well, detained in airport after manic attack.
Yep.
So this was literally the situation I was in New York, and my girlfriend didn't recognize it. Now, in my mind, I knew actually what I needed to do. I needed to go up the stairs and into the sun and just sit. But I now had to handle a girlfriend.
Right. Which that when you're trying to, when your brain is so far messed up at that point, you cannot take care of anyone else.
No.
And they don't see that because on the outside we look so fine, but on the inside we're completely in shutdown mode. There is nothing, again, there's nothing happening. Like in France, if I wouldn't have gotten in that taxi, we would have been so screwed on those on the trains. Because there was, just like you said, getting those darn passes, figuring out what car to get in, on the trains, and you go into that Paris train station, it's terrifying. I mean, it's just, there's just too many sensory overloads, whether it's people, lights, stuff that you have to do, things that you have to click through.
And getting back onto the train, Maggie.
Yeah.
There were delays on the train. The line
And right there.
The line wasn't going back to our destination.
Right. So then you're trying to figure out, okay, now I've got to reroute to another place. We can't figure that out. It's like, my psych said years ago, Maggie, you need a professional driver to take you around. Right, with all the money I have, it's just...
driving Miss Maggie.
Yeah, driving Miss Maggie.
And I definitely need a driver.
Yeah, we need, like on Sex and the City, they got Mr. Big, right, with his town car. John and I, if we were in some perfect bipolar land, we would need
have
someone
those kind of
holding
people.
our hand, directing us.
But this puts extra burden on ourselves because we do have vulnerable brains, and so when we're interacting with the environment, we've got to be hyper aware that there could be times where we get overwhelmed, and we need to do what's ever right for us right then. So if we're in a crowded room, don't worry about upsetting Auntie Tilly or whatever. You vacate the room immediately.
Right. Or if you miss the train or the airplane or whatever, if you have to leave the building, get out and sit down. Like John should have gone up from the subway and just sat down in the lab.
Sat down. It's a 15-minute chill break, and if that pissed off my girlfriend, tough.
Yeah.
That's how I should have.
Yeah. And like my taxi ride was $75, but that just saved like my brain from a traumatic breakdown.
Because I came that close in New York, to having to go to a psych ward.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
We don't want to go there, especially when you're, 4 time zones away from your own friendly environment.
Yeah,
it would have been the worst possible scenario. So.
True. Well, so for today, I hope you got some stuff out of that for from our own experience. And I just want to push our book one last time here. So here's John. We've got John's books.
Okay, yeah, this is my first one that came out in late 2006. And I'm now into a 6-book series, the Bipolar Expert Series. And this first one, not just up and down, it gives you all the fine points of mood. And we'll be talking, and in my later books, we'll be covering this kind of ground too.
And thanks, John. And this is my book, Runaway Mind, My Own Race from Bipolar Disorder. And it's just my own personal experience of the hell that I went through. So look us up on YouTube. And
subscribe to our channel.
Yep, and go to our website, press our buttons.
Sign up for our emailing list. We're going to have that all rolling across the screen here.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks, Maggie.
All right. Thanks, Rob, for coming by.
I am so sorry. I had no idea you guys were filming.